Hello, it's Saturday morning, and today we're going to put together some chili. And I'm going to do it in the crock pot so we can just cook and have low and slow for the rest of the day. And if you're interested in what I'm going to do, stay tuned. As you know, chili is always a go-to dish for a cool temperature. And once you enter into October, as far as I'm concerned, that's the time to put your chili together. Now, what I like to do is to kind of fix, when I prepare chili, is to prepare at least one or two batches so that I can, that's additional batches, let me say that, additional batches, so that I will not have to do this again. And then sometimes I'll take little quart bags and put some in and use that as my chili starter. And that's always good. Now, I have in my bottle here my go-to chili seasoning that I put together myself because I couldn't find one that had all the various flavors that I wanted. Now, I'm going to post it down in the description box below because I like a couple of different chili powders. I like paprika, garlic powder, onion powder. I even add a powdered beef bouillon because you want to kick up that beef flavor in the chili as well. Cumin is my big ticket item. Now, often I will even add some adobo powder, and I have to be careful with that because sometimes the adobo powder is very spicy and sometimes it's not so much. So I use a few tablespoons of my chili seasoning, and then if I need to kick up one particular flavor, you can always add more, but you can't take it away. Now, what I also did not put in here is salt. And the reason for that is because sometimes the beef bouillon is very salty and sometimes it's not. So I would prefer to add the salt myself as I'm tasting. So let's get the chili rolling. Now you are looking at, obviously, my crock pot. And in my crock pot, I have 3 pounds of ground beef. I added in 4 cups of water, and I added in 2 tablespoons of our chili seasoning. And I am going to let this cook low and slow. Now, let me tell you what happened. My day got so busy that I could not stop long enough to get this chili started. And yes, I did start it on a Saturday morning, or I thought I was going to start it anyway on Saturday morning, but that didn't happen. So I really didn't get this started until just before bedtime on Saturday night. So I'm going to allow this to cook low and slow overnight. Now, on Sunday morning, what I did, I had a real full pot of beef broth. And what I did was to drain the beef broth. Now, that's going to allow me to have, first of all, some good flavor to use later. Now, I'm not finished with the beef broth, so I'm going to set it off to the side. Also, eventually, I'm going to put it in the refrigerator, and what that's going to do is to allow the fat to come up to the top, and then I can just take the fat from the beef off, and it's just so much easier rather than trying to spoon the fat out of this beef broth. So you'll notice, you'll see some little green and some red things that are in there, and those are green peppers. I had a few extra green peppers that I did not use in a salad, and so I threw those in for the flavors. You'll see that I'm starting to sit our other ingredients down. So it's time to put the things into the crock pot. I'm adding in 1 small can of green chilies. I want to make sure I have everything. And green chilies, you can buy them medium, you can buy them mild, or you can buy them a very spicy hot. But they are delicious and definitely give that chili the flavor you want. If you don't have green chilies, then it's just not going to taste the way you want. Now, what I'm also doing while I'm stirring is that I'm fishing out the used green peppers because they've given us all the flavor that we want. So as I find a big one, I'm going to take those out and sit them over into the bowl. And you'll see that I'm just kind of fishing and fishing as I go, and I'm going to get most of them. And occasionally I may run into one that I missed, and if I do, you'll see that I'm going to toss it off to the side because I wanted their flavor. Now, when I initially cooked this meat as well, I added in 1 whole onion that I sliced in half, and that was also to impart the onion flavor, but you see that onion's gone at this point. So we are going to just continue. We're working, trying to make sure that we get anything that's large and may cause stress out. Now I'm also adding a large can of diced tomatoes. When I say large, we're talking about a 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes. Now sometimes these diced tomatoes, that's all of that, 1 28-ounce can. Some of these, I sometimes get them with green chilies in them, but I tell you what, it's not enough. Now, so you do need to add that additional can of green chilies, and there's one of those peppers, so I'm getting him out as well. So I'm just giving it a stir as we go, and you'll see how this crock pot is just going to fill up very quickly. I'm also taking out any little onion pieces that may have fallen off as it cooked, because my ground beef is great. It's well done. And now let's put in a can of chili beans. Now these chili beans are going to do 2 things as well. Besides adding the beans, it's also going to impart more chili flavor. I'm also adding a can of red kidney beans because we like those and we like the texture of them. So I'm adding both the chili beans and the red kidney beans, and then I'm just going to give this mixture a really good stir. Now, once I get everything stirred, I will take the time to taste this, because at this point I have not done so, because I'm trying to make sure I get everything in. Now, you know, initially we put in our chili powder mixture, our chili mix, and but remember, our chili mix did not have any salt, and if anyone knows, you've got to have some salt. So I'm going to have to go back and put salt in, but I didn't want to do that initially because I knew I was going to be adding some more items to our mix, and I wanted it to cook. I wanted the beef to be nice and tender, because sometimes salt can change the texture of a meat. So we're going to, we got our beans, we've got our tomatoes. You may even at this point want to add more chopped onions, or add chopped onions anyway, even though we have onion powder in our chili mix. The fresh onions often give it a better flavor. So I'll let you decide about that, whether you want to leave it as is or whether you want to add some additional chili flavor in once you've added all your other ingredients. Now I'm going to take this out and I'm going to add in about a half cup of tomato ketchup. It's amazing the things that you'll find and use tomato ketchup for, but this is one of those things. It's going to add a background flavor. Now you notice I started small because we can always add more, but we can't take it away if we get too much. So I'm starting with just a little, And as I taste this, if I think we need more, and you know, chili too is also about the coloring. When you get the right balance of flavor, the chili is going to have a beautiful color, and it's almost an amber color. And so we're working toward that. We're working toward that. So when this chili's ready and it's ready to eat, we'll do that. Now, so I'm giving it a good stir because it is just about time to taste. I'm also going to put in more beef broth because I don't want to make it too dry. Okay, so I've given it a taste, and we need a little more chili mix. I'm going to give it a good shake. That's the thing about chili mix, or any mixes actually. You always want to shake them well before you use them. So I'm going to add in more, and then we're going to put the top on this baby, and we are going to let it continue on Sunday to get in an additional about 4 hours, low and slow. So I've added in 2 additional teaspoons of chili seasoning. There we go. So let's give that a really good stir. Now I'm stirring, but I do not want this chili all over everything. So that's why I'm being very careful. And typically when I'm fixing chili, I have on dark clothing, because if it splatters, it has tomatoes, it has things that have color, and it will definitely stain whatever you're wearing. So that's why you always want to be careful about the colors that you wear when you're preparing it, or even eating it, you know, sometimes. Now we like our chili over spaghetti, cooked pasta, and that's a Cincinnati thing. And so when I'm ready to prepare this, and guess what guys, we're not eating it today. It's Sunday, but we're not eating it today. We are going to eat it later in the week. Now the reason for doing it early, I want this to sit together, and I want those flavors to come out. You know, the first batch of the chili is great, but the second and third times you serve it, oh my goodness, the flavor gets even better. Now notice I sprinkled in 1 teaspoon and about a half of salt. And if you're a salt person, you're probably going to want to add even more. I'm only going to add this amount because that satisfies my taste bud. But I already know that the big guy is going to grab that salt shaker. And in fact, sometimes he grabs a salt shaker and he hasn't even tasted his food. And you know, every now and then the cook gets heavy-handed. And sometimes it's a real big surprise. So I'm giving this a good stir so that we can put it back onto the crock pot base and let it continue. Now, you know, I need just, I think, a little more cumin, but I'm going to stir this up, and I'm really taking my time, really giving it a good stir, because that's half the battle. Now this is very hot. The crock itself is very hot, and I'm just thinking it needs more cumin. I knew it needed salt, but there was something missing. Now remember, we put cumin in the chili seasoning mix, but I tried not to overdo it because I did not want too much in the mix, and I didn't want it to overpower the chili. So what I'm doing is that I'm going over and I'm finding the cumin, and we're going to bring it over. We're going to add a little more cumin to this chili. So let's get that done. There we go, got our cumin. Let's add a little more. You know, I would have just gone shake, 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 but I thought for your sake I needed to make sure that I showed how much I actually put in. Now, I'm using a tablespoon. Notice it's a heaping tablespoon, so you might as well say we have about 2 more tablespoons of cumin, because we like cumin. We like that smoky flavor. It's a deep smoky flavor. So now's the time to give it another stir. That's what you do with chili. You know, when you are cooking, it's all about the love. You and whatever the pot is that you're putting together of food, the love that goes into it as you're stirring, you are just stirring any thoughts that you have. It gives you a chance to do that, and you're escaping into that pot. So right now I am just adding and stirring and kind of singing to myself and giggling to myself, thinking about things that have gone on throughout the week, and also thinking about the week ahead. Now this week we have our big change coming to the kitchen. The new stove is coming, and so when I made this chili, I had that in mind, because you're going to see the big change in this video. And so stay tuned, because at the end you'll get to see what the kitchen looks like with this new appliance. So I am just continuing with our green peppers. You know, guys, with our situation with COVID, I'm also thinking about the fact that I really don't get to see my grandkids or my kids as much as I would like to, because all of us are trying to stay safe in our various homes. And you know, sometimes that makes me very sad, because certainly something could happen and we might not get to see each other, or we might not get to say goodbye. And I know that it's happened to quite a few. Okay, guys, I gave it a taste and it's gotten my approval. So we're going to sit this on the crockpot base, let it go for 4 more hours. 4 more hours. And when we come back, we're going to, that's when we're actually going to, first of all, we're going to divide it up and get it ready for the freezer. Now notice I'm putting in, that's a cup, actually that's my half cup. That's my half cup of beef broth. And I gave that broth a stir, because that's just going to add the liquidy, it's going to change the viscosity of the chili. Chili's going to tighten up. You know, it's going to do that. And if you're going to serve it over pasta, you need for it to be just a little bit liquid. Now, I know some of you like to add mesa flour, and mesa flour is really a thickener. And what it does is to make that chili very, very thick, almost creamy. And that's not that's not the way I do it. But you do you. And if you want to add in a couple of tablespoons of mesa flour into your chili, then you certainly can. So, crock pot to the base. Stop. And before we go any further, let me remind you, please, right now, go down to the like and click on like. And if you're not a subscriber to my channel, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell, so you will know every time I upload a video. Remember, we do things here at Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme in the kitchen, for the kitchen. So don't forget to like the video and to subscribe. Thank you. Well, it has been about 4 hours, and our crock pot, I've taken the crock out, and I'm taking my spoon. You can see the smoke coming off of it, and look, you can tell the difference between what we had and where we are, because at this point you don't see all the little individual ingredients. Everything has blended together and has melded together. And now we're going to take the time to separate this into individual serving packets. So for the sake of not making a mess, I thought I would use one of my old soup containers, and I'm going to take my plastic bag. These plastic bags are in my Amazon store. They're wonderful. You get a pack, I think it's 50 or 100 of them for very little. And these are the freezer bags, and so because of that, they hold up very well. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to get my scoop, my soup ladle, and I'm going to just ladle this substance into this container. Now, let me tell you something. While these bags are pretty thick, this soup is very hot. And because it's very hot, which you'll see that when it's time to seal it up, that we are going to need to kind of be cautious. Now, you may have more time, but for me, the night is just about over. Now, like I said, with our new addition coming to the kitchen, that we're going to need to have dinner quick and have it ready to go, because it's not going to be delivered until late. So with that, I'm going to put these together. I'm going to let it cool off and then lay it into a large sheet pan. And we're going to freeze them. So you'll see that I'm trying to work out as much of the air as possible. And this allows me to do that. But look, he won't come out. So you know what? I won't be outdone. I'm going to get this baby out of this container. So watch what I do. I'm going to lay it on its side so that the liquid shifts. And that warm, I'm not going to pull too hard because I don't want the bags to tear. And while the bag has great integrity, the reality of it is that any plastic will eventually, our rubber will eventually stretch. So we're going to lay it on its side so that the liquid actually shifts inside. And you can see that we're starting to get it to just slide out of that container. So there it is. I'm going to lay it on the side, and once these are frozen, I will be able to label them and put them on its side in the freezer. They're going to stand up like little soldiers right in the freezer. So that's bag one. What did I do with that? Oh, there's that other bag. I knew I'd taken two out. I'm pretty good at guessing how much food I have. So there's our bag. We're going to place it in the container, and we're going to do it all again. Oh, we are not quite finished. Let's get this second bag done. And since we've done the first one, we can move along a little quickly. So I've sped this up because I do want you to see what we're going to do with this before we get it into the freezer. Now, I'm doing the second bag. I'm going to use the same method, whereas I'm going to get as much of the air out of this bag as I possibly can. And you know, because of the fact that it's hot, I'm going to have to lay it on its side. And you notice I just kind of gave it a little tap and just worked with it, but hold that top and make sure it doesn't open, just in case something didn't quite seal the way it should. We're going to get this laid out, check that zip, and then I'm going to bring out the pan that this is going to lay on in order to freeze. So it's going to the freezer, but as you know, it's very hot. So I'm going to need to just sit this off to the side. And then we still have some in the crock pot. So I'm going to use a container that that helped us fill those bags, and I think we should have just about one full soup container of chili. And actually, that's enough for a night of dinner, because we're going to put this over some pasta and add some cheese and some spring onions and maybe even a little sour cream. But this is going to be delicious. So let's get everything cleaned up. Let's put the last little corner of that chili into the container and get it cleaned up. Get everything wiped up and wiped off. Got our container wiped off, because guess what? This container is going to go in the refrigerator so that we can have it this week. But the rest of the 2 bags are going to be in the freezer so that we can have those another time. And in fact, usually I have chili for Halloween. That's our traditional dish on Halloween night, is to have chili. Before I left, I wanted to show you what the packages are going to look like once they're frozen. This is one of them, and in fact I'm taking it out today so I can warm up the chili, and we're going to have it tonight. So this is, of course, several days later. So as you can see, it's a nice little rectangle and fits right into the freezer. Well, today is going to be a fun day in the kitchen. We're going to have chili for dinner, and I'm going to give you a peek at the kitchen. I hope you have had a wonderful time right here in the kitchen of Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme, where we work hard, we love God and family, and we know without a doubt that everything else is just gravy. Now, as you know, it's October. We haven't even gotten to Halloween yet. So, while Christmas is in the air, and especially when you go into the stores, that's all you see is Christmas, Christmas, Christmas. But you know what? We still got Halloween. We've got Thanksgiving. But we're going to be doing a little creating in the meantime. So by the time Thanksgiving gets here, your house is going to be ready for a month of warm holiday cooking and having a great time. So I give you my prayers and great blessings and hope that you are remaining safe. And I look forward to seeing you soon right here in the kitchen. Wait, if you're wondering, where's the new stove? Well, guess what? So am I. Because the delivery people came. He came and he moved the original stove. And guess what? When they unwrapped my brand new stove, it was really, really, really dented all over the right hand side. So I sent it back, didn't let them take it off the truck, and I sent it back and told them, okay, thank you very much, but I want a new one. So sometime or another in the next few days, the stove will arrive. So the best laid plans of mice and men, it happens all the time. It's not a big deal, because remember, we work hard, we love God and family, and the rest is just gravy. I'll see you in the next video.